Darth Vader did not celebrate the day of his birth. The Empire recorded it. His medical staff marked it. His master remembered it whenever cruelty required precision. But Vader himself allowed the day to pass like any other cycle aboard an Imperial warship, measured by reports, interrogations, executions, and the hollow thunder of his own breathing. Celebration belonged to another man. Anakin Skywalker had once known laughter on such days. He had once stood beneath the suns of Tatooine while his mother smiled at him over a small, poor meal made rich by love. He had once known the shy warmth of Padmé's hand slipping into his beneath a balcony shadow while Naboo's lake country glittered around them. He had once believed that birthdays meant he was moving towards something better. That man had burned. Darth Vader remained. He stood in the white examination chamber of his flagship while the medical lamps glared against his armor. The chamber was too clean, too bright, too full of soft mechanical sounds that reminded him of agony. Every hiss of a sterilizer brought back the surgical table. Every red scanner beam became lava light. Every needle became a promise that pain could be organized, catalogued, and administered with care. Dr. Bail Organa knew better than to speak while he was silent. She was one of the few living beings aboard the Executor who had been permitted to treat him more than once. She had earned the privilege through obedience, competence, and an unusual capacity to hide fear. Vader could always feel it in her, of course. Fear moved through most beings like heat from a furnace. But Dr. Rand's fear did not make her hands tremble, and that made her useful. A medical droid hovered near the edge of the chamber, its polished instruments folded beneath its thin body. Vader turned his helmet slightly. The droid retreated at once. Dr. Rand pretended not to notice. "Your respiration remains within the expected range, my lord, though your dependence on regulated pressure continues to increase after extended combat deployments."
"I am aware of my breathing."
"Yes, my lord." Her eyes lowered to the readings on the console. She was careful. Too careful. Vader sensed the shape of an unspoken recommendation forming behind her disciplined expression.
"Speak," he commanded.
Dr. Rand folded her hands behind her back. "There is a procedure that may reduce inflammation along the graft junctions near your thoracic implants. It would require recurring injections, minor recalibration of the chest panel, and close observation for several hours afterward."
"No."
"My lord, the pain episodes you reported have become more frequent."
"I reported nothing. Your instruments recorded them."
"Then the instruments are concerned." The chamber became very still. The medical droid rotated as though trying to decide whether escape was possible. Vader looked down at the physician. Many officers would have fallen silent, but Dr. Rand had survived him because she knew when truth was safer than flattery.
"You find that amusing?" he asked.
"No, my lord. I find it medically relevant." A long moment passed. Then Vader turned away from her and allowed the examination platform to lower. The joints in his armor locked with a muted series of clicks.
"I will not be rendered helpless for your experiments."
"It is not an experiment."
"All medicine is experiment when practiced on me."
Dr. Rand's expression softened only slightly. "You are not machinery, my lord." The words struck harder than they should have. Vader's gloved hand closed around the edge of the platform. Durasteel groaned beneath his fingers. Dr. Rand did not step back.
"You will not speak to me that way again," Vader said.
"No, my lord." But the damage had been done. You are not machinery. How many times had he told himself the opposite? How many years had he worn the suit as punishment, prison, weapon, and identity? His master had told him that flesh was weakness. The Jedi had told him attachment was weakness. The galaxy had taken from him everything soft, everything human, and left him encased in black armor that announced what remained. And still, somewhere beneath all the machinery, a ruined heart beat. A foolish organ. A useless relic. It had not died when Padmé died. That had been its greatest failure. Dr. Rand cleared her throat. "The injections would be required regularly. They would not cure you, but they may prevent worsening complications."
"Nothing cures me."
"No, my lord." He turned back toward her. She held his gaze with the grave calm of someone who had learned that pity was more dangerous than fear.
I will review your recommendation, Vader said at last. That is all I ask.
No, you ask much more than that. The faintest trace of regret crossed her face. Perhaps. Vader stepped down from the platform. His cape fell behind him like a shadow given weight. He crossed the chamber toward the sealed door, each step heavy enough to vibrate through the polished floor. My lord, Dr. Rand said. He stopped. For a fraction of a second, something in the Force shifted. Not danger, not deception. A small, human hesitation. What? Vader demanded. Dr. Rand inclined her head. May the day bring you peace. His fingers twitched. She had not said the forbidden words. She had not wished him happiness. Perhaps she knew better. Perhaps she knew that happiness was a language he no longer spoke. Peace, however, was worse. Peace was a Jedi lie. Vader left without answering. The corridor outside the medical wing was dimmer, lit by cold Imperial panels, and guarded by stormtroopers who snapped into rigid attention as he passed. Their fear brushed against him, familiar and obedient. He preferred it to the physician's concern. Fear was honest. Fear did not ask him to remember that he had once been loved. On the bridge, Admiral Ozzel stood over a tactical display, thin lips pressed into a nervous line. Officers moved quickly at their stations, speaking in clipped voices. The massive viewport revealed a spread of stars, and beyond them, the blue-white glow of hyperspace lanes projected across the navigation board. Vader entered, and the bridge tightened around him. My lord, Ozzel said, turning sharply. We have intercepted a rebel courier vessel near the Alderaan trade route. Survivors are in custody. Initial scans suggest encrypted data cores were destroyed before boarding. Then the prisoners will replace them. Ozzel swallowed. Yes, my lord. Vader stared through him. Bring the ranking survivor to interrogation. At once. A young lieutenant hurried away. Vader felt the pulse of fear follow him like a scent. He moved toward the bridge viewport. Stars stretched into lines as the executor shifted out of hyperspace near a lonely transfer point. Wreckage drifted ahead, fragments of a rebel ship surrounded by TIE patrols and recovery craft. The vessel had been small, desperate, and doomed. Desperation often served the rebellion better than wisdom. Vader reached for the minds of the prisoners through the Force. There were several. Pain, terror, defiance. One mind burned brighter than the others, shielded by anger and discipline. A woman, perhaps, trained enough to resist standard interrogation, not trained enough to resist him. He would break her. The thought should have brought satisfaction. Instead, a sharp pain tore through his chest. Vader's hand struck the command rail, metal bent beneath his grip. For one impossible instant, the bridge vanished. He heard a heartbeat that was not his own. He saw white walls, sunlight, and a girl's face turned away from him in sleep. Then came Padmé's voice. Anakin. The name crashed through him with such force that his breath control faltered. His respirator caught, wheezed, recovered, then rasped louder than before. My lord? Ozzel asked. Vader turned on him. The Admiral went pale. Leave me, Vader said. My lord. Now. The bridge crew froze. Ozzel bowed quickly and gestured for the nearest officers to clear away from the central command area. Vader did not wait. He strode from the bridge, rage rising to cover whatever weakness had just betrayed him. By the time he reached his private chamber, the pain had become a burning pressure behind the armor plating over his chest. Not mechanical failure. Not entirely. He knew the rhythm of his damaged body too well to mistake this for simple malfunction. Something in the Force had touched him. No. Something had called to him. The chamber sealed behind him. At his command, the meditation sphere opened with a sigh of hydraulics. Vader stepped inside and lowered himself into the seat. The shell closed around him, and pressure changed. His helmet released from the collar with a hiss. Cool air touched the ravaged skin of his face. He closed his eyes. There was no peace in darkness. Only memory. Padmé on Mustafar, eyes wide with betrayal. Padmé reaching for him before he choked the life from her hope. Padmé dead on a table while droids whispered about causes and complications and grief. Padmé carrying a child that never breathed. His child. Vader's scarred jaw clenched. His master had told him the truth. In anger, Vader had killed her. In his weakness, he had destroyed the only future that mattered. It was the first lesson of his new life, branded deeper than burns. Everything he loved became ash. Everything he desired became a weapon against him. A chime sounded. Vader opened his eyes. A private transmission request glowed on the console. Origin, Alderaan. He stared at the signal. Then the sender identification appeared. Bail Organa. Vader's fingers curled slowly. Organa. Senator. Viceroy. Quiet enemy. Friend of Padmé Amidala. Vader had long suspected the man of treason. Alderaan wrapped rebellion in silk and diplomacy, pretending virtue while feeding insurgents behind palace walls. If Organa was contacting him directly, he was either desperate or foolish. Vader accepted the transmission. Bail Organa appeared in blue-white holoform, older than Vader remembered, his face lined by years of caution. His robes were elegant, but his posture betrayed exhaustion. Behind him, the blurred outline of a palace chamber shimmered. "Lord Vader," Bail said. "Viceroy Organa." The title came out like a threat. Bail inclined his head. "Thank you for answering. You have little time to explain why you contacted me." "I need you to come to Alderaan." Vader stared at him. The silence stretched. "You have mistaken me for someone who answers summons." "I would not have risked this if there were another choice." "You risk much by speaking to me at all." "I know." Vader studied the man's face. Fear was there, yes, but not fear for himself. That made the situation more interesting. "If this concerns the rebel prisoners taken from your courier vessel, they will not be released." Bail's jaw tightened. "This is not about prisoners." "Then speak." Bail looked away for the smallest moment. When he looked back, grief and resolve stood together in his eyes. "It concerns Padmé." The meditation chamber seemed to shrink around Vader. The Force darkened. "You will not use that name," Vader said. "I knew her." "You knew Senator Amidala. You did not know Padmé." Bail flinched as if struck. "Perhaps not as you did." Vader's breath became louder. "You presume too much." "I am not trying to manipulate you." "Liar." Bail said nothing. Vader leaned closer to the holo. Without his mask, his voice still carried through the chamber's systems, distorted and cold, but beneath it, something raw bled through. "Speak her name again, Organa, and I will come to Alderaan, but not for the reason you hope." Bail's face hardened. "Then come. Hate me if you must. Threaten me if it pleases you. But if any part of the man she loved still exists beneath that armor, you will come now." Vader rose so violently that the chair beneath him shifted. "The man she loved is dead." "No," Bail said softly. "That is why I called." The words hung between them. Vader's vision narrowed. "Explain." Bail drew a slow breath. "There is someone here you must see. Someone who is dying." "I am not a healer." "No, but you may be the only one who can save her." Her. The pain returned, sudden and sharp. Again he saw sunlight, white sheets, a girl's hand clenched around a blanket, dark hair against a pillow, a pulse in the Force, like a star hidden behind clouds. Vader's voice lowered. "Who?" Bail's expression broke. "She is Padmé's daughter." The galaxy stopped. For a heartbeat, Vader heard nothing. Not his respirator, not the hum of the chamber, not the distant engines of the Executor. Then came the scream of Mustafar, the roar of fire, the Emperor's voice telling him she was dead because of him. Padmé's daughter. No, impossible. You lie, Vader said. I wish I did. Padmé's child died with her. Bail closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there were tears in them. No, Vader. Her children lived. Children. The word cleaved through him. Vader's hand lifted. The hollow flickered as the console casing buckled inward under invisible pressure. Bail gasped, but did not step away from the transmission. Where? Vader demanded. One is hidden beyond my reach. For safety, I was not told everything. The other is here. My daughter in every way that matters. But by blood. Where is she? In the palace medical wing. She collapsed this morning. The physicians cannot explain it. They say her heart is failing, but there is no disease, no poison, no injury. She keeps whispering a name she should not know. Vader did not ask. He already knew. Anakin. The name had crossed the stars and pierced armor, bone, and hate. Bail continued, voice shaking now. I do not know what you are to her in the Force. I do not know what bond exists, but she is reaching for something, and I believe it is reaching back through you. Vader stood motionless. The Emperor had lied. The thought came quietly at first. Then it became thunder. The Emperor had lied. Padmé had not died carrying his dead child. His child had lived. Children had lived. For years. Hidden. Breathing. Growing. One on Alderaan, raised beneath Bail Organa's roof, perhaps taught to despise the Empire. Perhaps taught to despise him. His daughter. Vader's daughter. A dangerous stillness entered him. If this is a trap, he said, Alderaan will burn. If you do not come, Bail replied, she may die before nightfall. The transmission ended. For a long moment, Vader did not move. Then his helmet lowered into place. The seal locked. The breath returned. He emerged from the meditation chamber as Darth Vader again. But the shape of the galaxy had changed. Ozzel was waiting outside the private corridor, with 2 officers and a datapad clutched in his hands. My lord, the interrogation prisoner is prepared, and we have a possible rebel rendezvous point if— Set course for Alderaan. Ozzel blinked. Alderaan, my lord? Vader turned. The Admiral stepped back. Yes, my lord. At once. And Admiral. Yes? No communication is to be sent to the Emperor. Ozzel's terror spiked. My lord, standard procedure requires notification of— Vader reached out with the Force. Ozzel rose from the floor, hands clawing at his throat. Standard procedure, Vader said, requires obedience. He released him. The Admiral collapsed, coughing. No communication, Ozzel rasped. Yes, my lord. Vader strode past him. The Executor turned toward Alderaan. In hyperspace, the stars became long wounds of light. Vader stood alone in the forward observation chamber. He had dismissed everyone. Even the guards outside stood far enough away that their fear reached him only as a faint tremor. He tried to meditate, but meditation had been a Jedi discipline, and the Sith used stillness only to sharpen wrath. Wrath should have been easy. He had enough of it to crack moons. Palpatine had lied to him. Kenobi had hidden from him. Organa had stolen from him. The galaxy had conspired to bury the last living pieces of Padmé beyond his reach. Yet beneath the rage, something else moved. Fear. Not fear of battle, not fear of death. Those were nothing. This fear was older, younger, unbearable. What if he arrived too late? What if his daughter died because he had not known she existed? What if knowing him killed her? The thought sickened him. He saw Padmé's face as it had been before Mustafar. Not the pale stillness from his nightmares, but the living warmth from Naboo. The fierce intelligence in her eyes. The way she could defy kings, senators, and Jedi with equal grace. If her daughter had even a shadow of that courage, what would she see when Vader entered the room? A monster, a murderer, a stranger in black armor. His fist closed. No, he would not think like that. The girl was his blood, his heir. The galaxy had taken enough. A tone sounded over the chamber comm. "My lord, we are approaching Alderaan." Vader turned toward the stars. "Prepare my shuttle." Alderaan appeared beneath him like a memory of peace. Blue oceans curved around green continents. White clouds drifted over mountains. Cities gleamed, not like imperial fortresses, but like structures grown from the landscape by patient hands. It was beautiful, in a way that irritated him. Alderaan had the arrogance of untouched things. His shuttle descended through the atmosphere, escorted by TIE fighters. The palace landing platform waited high among pale towers and wind-bright banners. Alderaanian guards stood in ceremonial ranks, their weapons polished, their faces tense. Bail Organa waited at the center of the platform. Beside him stood Queen Breha, regal even in fear, one hand resting against her chest, as if she had been holding herself together by force of will alone. Vader stepped down the ramp. The wind tugged at his cape. No one spoke. The guards wanted to aim their weapons. He could feel it. Their loyalty to Organa warred with survival instinct. Vader ignored them. Bail bowed his head. "Lord Vader, take me to her." Breha's eyes flashed. "Before you see her, you will hear this. She is our daughter. Whatever blood says, whatever truth has brought you here, she is our child." Vader turned his helmet toward her. Bail looked stricken, but he did not silence his wife. Breha continued, voice trembling but firm. "She has known love every day of her life. She has known laughter, music, duty, kindness, and stubborn hope. If you enter that room as a Sith seeking possession, I will stand between you and her." The guards went rigid. Bail whispered, "Breha." Vader stared down at the queen. Here was courage. Not battlefield courage, not the arrogance of generals. Something quieter and more dangerous. Padmé would have liked her. The thought came unbidden. "She is dying," Vader said. Breha swallowed. Some of the fire in her eyes became grief. "Yes." "Then take me to her." The palace corridors were too bright. Sunlight fell through tall windows onto polished stone. Servants pressed themselves against walls as Vader passed. He smelled flowers from open terraces, heard distant fountains, and felt the life of Alderaan moving around him in currents of fear and defiance. Bail walked at his side. Breha followed close behind. "She knows nothing?" Vader asked. Bail's face tightened. "She knows she was adopted. She knows her birth mother was a woman of courage who died at the end of the Clone Wars. She does not know your name." "Yet she called it." "Yes." "Who else knows?" "Almost no one living." "That is not an answer." Bail stopped near a set of carved doors guarded by physicians. "Obi-Wan knew. Master Yoda knew. I knew. Breha knew. The midwife who helped conceal the birth died years ago. The medical droids were wiped." Kenobi. The name stirred hatred so deep, it felt like gravity. "He hid my child." "He saved your children from the Emperor." Vader stepped close enough that Bail had to tilt his head back. "He saved them from me, you mean?" Bail did not answer. That silence was answer enough. One of the physicians approached, trembling. "Viceroy, her condition is worsening." Breha pushed past them at once. Bail followed. Vader entered last. The medical chamber smelled of antiseptic and flowers, and there she was. The girl lay on a narrow bed surrounded by monitors, her dark hair spread over the pillow, her skin pale beneath the soft Alderaanian light. She was young, too young to carry the weight that suddenly filled the room. Her face was not Padmé's exactly, but the resemblance struck like a blade. The curve of her brow, the set of her mouth, the proud line of her chin, even in weakness. Leia Organa, Princess of Alderaan. His daughter. Vader could not move. The machines around her beeped in uneven rhythm. Her breathing was shallow. One hand rested atop the blanket, fingers twitching as if reaching for something beyond sight. Breha went to her side and took that hand. "Leia, my love, he is here." Leia's eyelids fluttered. The Force trembled. Vader felt her before she fully woke. Bright, fierce, untamed. She was not trained, not disciplined, not aware of the power coiled within her. But it was there. Padmé's fire, yes, but also something of his own storm. She was a locked door with lightning behind it. Her eyes opened. Brown eyes. Padmé's eyes, and not Padmé's. Her own. For a moment, she looked past everyone and saw only the black figure at the foot of her bed. Fear sparked, then anger. Even dying, she glared. "You," she whispered. Bail leaned close. "Leia, don't try to speak." "You brought him here?" Her voice was weak, but accusation gave it edge. Vader knew that tone. He had heard senators use it before battle stations and governors. He had heard Padmé use it when men mistook gentleness for surrender. Breha brushed hair from Leia's forehead. "We had to." Leia tried to sit up. Pain seized her, and the monitor shrieked. Vader moved before he chose to. The Force flowed through him, not as a weapon, but as restraint. He steadied her body, easing the spasm before it could tear through her again. Leia gasped. Her eyes locked on him. "What did you do?" "I stopped the pain." "I didn't ask you to." "No." The single word silenced even the machines for a breath. Leia stared. Her fear had not vanished, but curiosity fought with it. Vader approached the bedside. Breha stiffened, still holding Leia's hand. He stopped at a careful distance. The girl's presence in the Force reached toward him without permission. He felt confusion, fever, anger, and beneath all of it, an ache that mirrored the pain in his chest. A bond, buried for years, suppressed by distance, ignorance, and perhaps the Emperor's design. Now strained by illness or awakening. Her body could not bear what her spirit had begun to touch. "You have been reaching for me," Vader said. Leia's brows drew together. "I don't even know you." "No." "Then why do I hear you?" Bail closed his eyes. Breha began to cry silently. Leia saw it. Her anger faltered. "Father?" Bail took her other hand. "Leia." "What is happening?" No one answered. Leia's gaze moved from Bail to Breha, then to Vader. She was brilliant. Vader saw understanding begin before truth was spoken. She looked at his armor, at her parents' grief, at the impossible dread in the room. "No," she said. Bail's face broke. "Leia, we love you." "No." Breha leaned closer. "Always. Nothing changes that." Leia pulled her hand weakly from Breha's grasp. "What did you do?" "We protected you," Bail said. "From him?" Vader remained silent. Leia looked at him again. The machines marked her rising distress. "Who are you?" she demanded. The answer should have been simple. Darth Vader, Lord of the Sith, executor of the Emperor's will. But none of those names belonged in this room. "I was Anakin Skywalker," he said. Leia's breath caught. Bail bowed his head. Breha covered her mouth. Leia stared at him as though he had spoken in a dead language she somehow understood. "My mother," she whispered. "Her name was Padmé." Vader's chest constricted. "Yes." "You knew her?" "Yes." Leia's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. "Did you kill her?" The question found the deepest wound and opened it with a child's precision. Vader could have lied. He had lived among lies for so long that another would have been easy. He could have blamed Kenobi, the Emperor, war, fear, fate. All of them had their portion. But Leia was watching him. His daughter was watching him. "I destroyed her," he said. "Whether my hand ended her life or not, I destroyed the world in which she could live." Leia's lips parted. Bail looked up sharply, surprised perhaps by the answer. Vader continued, voice low.
I believed she had died with her child. I was told this. I believed there was nothing left.
There was me,
Leia said. Yes.
and someone else.
Vader went still. Leia's expression changed. The fever made her fragile, but the Force had opened something between them. She saw through his reaction.
I dream of him, she whispered. A boy under twin suns. I thought he was only a dream.
Vader's hand tightened. Bail's fear flared. Where is he? Vader asked. Bail stepped forward. No! The room darkened. Where is my son? Leia flinched, and the machines screamed again. The sound cut through Vader's rage. He looked down at her, saw pain twist her face, and forced his anger back behind walls of iron. Not here, not now. He turned away from Bail. Her condition is tied to the bond, Vader said. The physicians stared blankly. Dr. Rand would have understood faster, he thought, then hated that he had thought of anyone from his imperial life in this room. Leia swallowed.
What bond?
The Force connects living things. Blood can strengthen that connection. Trauma can awaken it. Your body is fighting what your mind does not understand.
I'm dying because you exist?
The bitterness in her voice was pure and deserved. Vader answered carefully. You are dying because the truth has been buried too long. Leia laughed once, weakly.
That sounds like something a Sith would say.
It is still true. Bail stepped closer. Can you help her? Vader looked at the monitors, at the physicians, at Breha's trembling hands, then finally at Leia. Yes. Leia's eyes narrowed.
And what will it cost?
There she was again, Padmé's daughter, weighing bargains from her deathbed. Nothing.
I don't believe you. You should not.
Breha.
Leia.
No, Leia said, voice gaining a spark of strength, even as her body failed.
I want to know what happens if he saves me. Does he take me? Does the Emperor come here? Does Alderaan become another world under his fist because of me?
Vader felt the name like poison. The Emperor. Palpatine had lied. For years. Every punishment, every lesson, every whispered reminder of Padmé's death had been built on deception. He had forged Vader from grief while hiding the living proof that grief was incomplete. The Sith taught that chains made strength. Vader had never understood until this moment how many chains he wore. The Emperor will not have you, Vader said. Bail stared at him. You cannot promise that. Vader turned his helmet toward him. I can. Leia searched the unreadable mask.
Why?
Because you are mine, the Sith within him answered. Because you are hers, something deeper replied. Vader lowered himself beside the bed. The movement was awkward, the armor too heavy for gentleness, but he managed it. From that height, he no longer towered over her. Because I failed your mother, he said. I will not fail you if I can prevent it. Leia's tears finally slipped free. She looked away, furious that anyone had seen them.
What do I have to do?
Let me in. Bail stiffened. What does that mean? It means she must allow me to guide her through the bond instead of fighting it. Leia looked back.
Will you see my thoughts?
Some.
No. Leia.
Breha.
No. He's Darth Vader.
Yes, Vader said. Everyone looked at him. I am. Leia's lips pressed together. Vader continued. You know what I am. You know enough to fear me. Keep that fear if you must. Use it. But if you continue to fight the bond blindly, it will burn through you.
And if I trust you?
Do not trust me. Trust your own will. Leia stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly she held out her hand. Vader looked at it. Small, human, alive. His gloved hand hovered above hers. He did not take it at first. The glove was black armor, thick enough to crush bone, made for war and terror. It had no place around a child's hand. Leia noticed the hesitation. Perhaps she mistook it for reluctance. Perhaps she understood more. Her fingers lifted and touched the back of his glove. The bond opened. Vader nearly recoiled. Light. Not the sterile light of medical chambers or the cruel glow of lava. This was sunlight on Alderaan's mountains, white dresses in palace halls, Bail's laughter, Breha's songs, a child running through gardens, a girl arguing with tutors, a princess hiding refugee names inside trade documents, a young woman standing before injustice with her chin raised. Then beneath it, deeper and older, Padmé. Not as memory, as inheritance. Leia had her mother's courage, but courage alone had not made her ill. The force in her had been reaching outward for its mirror, for the other half of a truth denied. Vader felt his own darkness surge toward her, vast and hungry, and for one terrible instant, he understood the danger. He could drown her. His grief alone could pull her under. Vader drew back inside himself, gathering the storm, forcing it behind walls. Sith power demanded domination. This required surrender. He did not know how. Leia. It's cold. I know. It hurts. I know. Make it stop. The plea broke something. Not loudly, not in fury. A fracture deep beneath armor where Anakin Skywalker had been buried alive. Vader closed his eyes behind the mask. He reached not with rage, not with command, but with memory. Padmé beside a lake. Padmé placing her hand over his heart. Padmé saying there was good in him when he had already forgotten what good felt like. Leia's breathing steadied. The monitor slowed. Bail whispered something that might have been a prayer. Vader guided the bond carefully, drawing the excess strain into himself. Pain flooded his chest. His respirator stuttered. Warning signals flashed inside his helmet. The old injuries along his lungs and heart ignited, as if Mustafar had found him again. Leia tried to pull away. Stop! It's hurting you. Be still. You're making it worse for yourself. Yes. Why? Vader had no answer that would not destroy him, so he gave her the truth. Because I can bear it. The force surged. For a moment, father and daughter stood in a place that was not a place. A black shore beneath red skies, a field of stars. A room on Polis Massa, where newborn cries had once split the silence. Leia saw it. Not everything, but enough. A woman dying. A hidden birth. A boy carried one way, a girl another. Grief, fear, love, and the shadow of a Sith Lord smiling as he sealed the lie. Leia's anger changed. It did not vanish. It became sharper. He knew, she whispered. Vader's voice was a blade. Yes. The Emperor knew. Yes. Leia's hand tightened against his glove. I hate him. So do I. That shared hatred should have pleased him. Instead, it frightened him. The dark side waited eagerly at the edge of her pain, offering strength with hooks inside it. Vader forced his own hatred back. No, he said. Do not follow me there. Leia's eyes opened. The color had begun to return to her face. You follow him there. I did. Then leave. The words were barely a whisper, but they struck like prophecy. Vader released her hand and staggered back. The monitor stabilized. The physicians erupted into motion, checking readings, murmuring in disbelief. Breha sobbed and gathered Leia carefully into her arms. Bail stood frozen, staring at Vader with an expression that had no simple name. Leia, exhausted, kept her eyes on the black mask. Vader turned away. He needed distance, air, rage, something familiar before this room remade him completely. He reached the balcony beyond the medical chamber and stepped into Alderaan's wind. Mountains rolled beneath the palace, green and bright. The sky was impossibly clear. Behind him, Bail emerged. For a time, neither spoke. At last, Bail said, "You saved her." Vader looked out over the world. "For now. What happens next?" "The Emperor will sense something. Then we have little time." Vader turned. "Where is my son?" Bail's jaw tightened. "I will not tell you." "You will." "No." The Force gathered around Vader like a storm front. Bail stood his ground. "He is innocent," Bail said. "Leia is innocent. You know what Palpatine will do if he learns the truth. If you tear the location from my mind, you may satisfy yourself for a moment, but you will doom him." Vader could do it. He could seize Bail's mind, crack it open, and take the answer. Tatooine, perhaps. Dagobah. Some forgotten moon. The location was there, guarded but present. His son, his blood, hidden from him. Vader lifted a hand. Bail did not move. Then Leia's voice came from the doorway. "Don't." Vader turned. She stood supported by Breha and one of the physicians, pale but upright, wrapped in a white robe. She looked impossibly small against the carved doorway, and yet every eye turned to her as if she commanded armies. "You said the Emperor wouldn't have me," Leia said. "Was that true?" "Yes." "Then prove it." Vader's hand lowered. Whew, Bail exhaled. Leia stepped forward despite Breha's protest. "If you take his location by force, you're not protecting him. You're hunting him." Vader stared at her. "You know nothing of what I have lost." "No," Leia said. "But I know what it feels like to wake up and find out powerful men have moved your whole life around like a game board." Bail flinched. Leia looked at him, softer now, but still wounded. "Even men who loved me." Breha's tears returned. Vader felt the truth of Leia's words settle over the balcony. He had been moved like that too. By Jedi prophecy, by war, by Palpatine, by fear disguised as destiny. He had believed power would free him. Instead, every step toward power had tightened the chain. "What would you have me do?" he asked. Leia seemed surprised that he asked at all. "Leave Alderaan without destroying it." "That is all?" "No. Don't tell the Emperor. Don't come back with an army. Don't punish them for saving me." Vader looked toward Bail and Breha. The Queen held Leia as if daring death itself to try again. Organa watched Vader with the exhausted courage of a man who had already sacrificed sleep, safety, and truth for love. "They stole you," Vader said. Leia's voice hardened. "They raised me." The distinction was a wall. Vader could break it. He chose not to. The choice was agony. "I will not move against Alderaan," he said. Bail's shoulders sagged with relief. Leia was not finished. "And my brother?" Vader's silence answered. Leia stepped closer. "You want to find him?" "Yes." "If you do, what then?" "What then?" Vader imagined a boy with Padmé's eyes, or his own. A boy under twin suns. A boy who might look at him with fear, hatred, confusion, longing. A boy the Emperor would covet the moment he knew. "I do not know," Vader said. Leia studied him. "That may be the first honest thing you've said." Breha whispered, "Leia." But Vader did not punish the insult. Perhaps because it was not one. A warning siren sounded from inside the palace. Bail spun toward the chamber. "What is it?" A palace officer rushed onto the balcony, face drained. "Viceroy, Imperial transmission spike detected from orbit, not from Lord Vader's shuttle. It's tight beam, encrypted." Vader went cold. "Ozzel," he said. On the executor, fear had outweighed obedience. The Emperor would know something had happened. Vader turned toward the landing platform. "I must return to my ship." Bail followed. If Palpatine knows, he does not know everything yet. Leia gripped the balcony rail. How can you be sure? Because if he did, your palace would already be burning. No one found comfort in that. Vader started away, then stopped. He looked back at Leia. There were 1,000 things he could have said. None belonged to Darth Vader. None could be spoken through the mask without becoming something twisted. Leia looked at him with guarded eyes. Not forgiveness, not love, but not only hatred either. That was more mercy than he deserved. "Live," he said. Leia's expression shifted. "I was planning on it," she replied.
For the first time in many years, something almost like warmth moved through the ruins inside him. Then he was gone. The shuttle rose from Alderaan beneath a sky turning gold with evening. Vader stood silent during ascent, one hand gripping the overhead rail. The stormtroopers aboard wisely said nothing. The moment he entered the executor's hangar, he felt terror. Ozzel waited with a squad of officers near the lift. His face had the gray sheen of a man who knew death was walking toward him. "My lord," the admiral stammered, "there was an automated communications irregularity. I was attempting to preserve protocol." Vader seized him with the force. Ozzel's body slammed against the hangar wall and stayed there, suspended above the deck. "You contacted the Emperor." "My lord, I only reported your unscheduled diversion. Nothing more. I swear it." Vader tightened his grip, bones strained. Nothing more. Perhaps true, perhaps not. But the damage had begun. "Prepare to depart Alderaan's orbit," Vader said to the nearest captain. The captain bowed quickly. "Destination, my lord?" Vader looked up at Ozzel. "Anywhere but here." The captain hesitated only long enough to survive. "Yes, my lord." Ozzel gasped. "Lord Vader, please!" "You have served the Emperor well," Vader said. Relief flickered across Ozzel's face. Then Vader added, "Serve him in death." The admiral's neck snapped. His body fell. No one moved. Vader turned toward the bridge. "Send no further transmissions. Anyone who attempts to do so will join him." The executor left Alderaan behind. Only when the planet had vanished into hyperspace did the Emperor's call arrive. Vader stood in his meditation chamber, helmet sealed, armor repaired enough to hide the strain Leia's healing had placed upon him. He let the transmission wait for 3 chimes. Not enough to suggest defiance, enough to gather himself. Then he knelt. The hollow of Emperor Palpatine appeared above him, hooded and withered, his yellow eyes gleaming. "Lord Vader, my master, I received a curious report from your late admiral." Vader bowed his head. Ozzel exceeded his authority. He has been dealt with. "So I assumed." Palpatine's smile thinned. "Alderaan is an unusual destination for you." Organa attempted to bargain for rebel prisoners. "And did he succeed?" "No." "Did you find evidence of treason?" "Suspicion only." He remains cautious. Palpatine watched him. Vader felt the probe of his master's mind, like cold fingers against scars. Once, he might have opened himself fully, offering rage and pain as proof of loyalty. Now he built walls from that same rage. Palpatine's eyes narrowed. "You are troubled, my friend." "I experienced complications with my suit." "Ah." The Emperor's sympathy was a knife wrapped in silk. "Your suffering has always been a useful teacher." "Yes, master. Do not allow old ghosts to distract you." Vader remained still. Palpatine leaned closer in the hollow. "Alderaan is full of ghosts. Senators, queens, lost causes, dead women whose names should no longer matter." The chamber seemed to tilt. Vader's hands closed on his knees. Palpatine smiled. There it was, the hook, the reminder, the test. "Padmé Amidala is dead," the Emperor said gently. "Whatever Organa offered you, whatever memory he used to stir your weakness, remember who killed her."
Vader's breathing filled the chamber. I remember, my master. Good. The Emperor's gaze sharpened. Return to your hunt. The rebels grow bold. Their hope must be extinguished before it spreads. As you command. The hollow vanished. Vader remained kneeling.
For years, that conversation would have ended with him drowning in self-hatred until only obedience remained. Palpatine knew every wound. He pressed each one with perfect timing. But now, the wound had changed. Padmé Amidala is dead. Yes, but her daughter lived. Her son lived. And the Emperor feared ghosts, because sometimes ghosts had heirs. Vader rose. He opened a secure private channel to Dr. Ran. Her image appeared, surprised and wary. My lord, you will prepare the treatment you recommended. Dr. Ran blinked. The injections? Yes. At once. May I ask when? Immediately. She studied him through the hollow, perhaps hearing something different in his voice. Of course, my lord. And doctor. Yes? No droids. A faint smile touched her face before she suppressed it. No droids. The transmission ended. Vader stood alone. He had not turned from the dark. Not yet. Perhaps not ever. The blood on his hands did not vanish because his daughter had breathed easier. The dead did not rise because he had chosen restraint once. Alderaan was safe tonight, but the Empire still crushed worlds under his command. He knew what he was, but he also knew something Palpatine did not. A Sith heart was supposed to be dead except for hatred. Vader's was not. It beat in pain. It beat in rage. It beat with old grief and new terror. It beat for a daughter who had looked at him and demanded proof. It beat for a son hidden under unknown stars. It beat for Padmé, not as a chain now, but as a light he had mistaken for ashes. The Emperor had built Darth Vader from a lie, and somewhere inside the armor, beneath the breathing, beneath the burns, beneath the name that had ruled him for half a lifetime, Anakin Skywalker opened his eyes in the dark. He did not rise, not yet, but he listened. Far away, on Alderaan, Leia Organa stood on her balcony long after her parents begged her to rest. The night wind moved through her white robe. The stars above the mountains looked colder than they had the night before, but sharper too, as if some veil had been torn away. Bail stood behind her. I am sorry, he said. Leia did not turn. I know. I wanted to tell you so many times. Why didn't you? Because I was afraid. She nodded slowly. It was the most painful answer, because it was the truest. Breha joined them, wrapping a warm shawl around Leia's shoulders. Whatever blood revealed today, you are our daughter. Leia leaned into her mother's touch. I know that too. Bail's voice was quiet. Do you hate us? Leia looked at the stars. She thought of the black mask, the gloved hand, the cold bond, the terrible pain he had taken from her because, somehow, he could. She thought of a boy beneath twin suns, a brother who did not know her name. She thought of her birth mother, brave and lost, and of the monster who had once loved her. I'm angry, Leia said. That isn't the same thing. Breha kissed her hair. Bail closed his eyes with relief that still carried sorrow. Leia lifted her chin. What happens now? Bail looked toward the stars. Now we prepare. For Vader? For the Emperor. Leia felt the bond then, faint and distant. A shadow at the edge of her mind, not invading, not calling, simply there. For a moment, she considered shutting it out completely. Instead, she let it remain. Not trust, not forgiveness. A warning line stretched across the galaxy, and perhaps, someday, a path. On the executor, Vader felt the same thread, while Dr. Ran prepared the first injection. The needle entered ruined flesh. Pain followed. He endured it without flinching. Dr. Ran watched the readings. Your heart rate is elevated. Vader looked toward the viewport beyond the medical chamber, where hyperspace burned blue around the ship. Yes, he said. Should I be concerned?
Vader thought of Leia's hand touching his glove. He thought of a boy under twin suns. He thought of Palpatine smiling over 14 years of lies. "Yes," Vader said again. Dr. Rand looked up, startled. But Vader was no longer speaking to her. The galaxy had shifted. The Sith had taught him that love was weakness, that compassion was a wound, that family was a chain waiting to be used by enemies. Perhaps they were right. Perhaps this new truth would destroy him. Or perhaps the Sith had always feared love, because it was the one power they could wound, twist, bury, and mock, but never truly command. Vader's heart beat on. Damaged, dangerous, alive. And for the first time since Mustafar, Darth Vader had something more dangerous than hatred to hide from his master. He had hope.